In this next video, I'm going to talk to you about analysing the heating and cooling loads. As we said before, using the power of this BIM technology that the Revit software has, the information you've set in spaces, zones and other energy parameters are used as the basis for the loads, the load analysis for the project. Using the heating and cooling loads to verify the spaces and zones, as we've seen before in this one here. We can verify the parameters before calculating the loads for reports. So let's start with running a heating and cooling load analysis. So we've already, as we've just done, gone to analyze and clicked on heating and cooling loads to bring us up this window here. So let's go into this a little bit further on. I've already talked about setting about the locations, etc. And in this general, we've got the locations here. We're going to change this to school and university. All it's doing is collecting the information together. Again, clicking on this brings us up this mapping area. So as well as manually setting it, going through this heat and calc, we get to the same windows. So we're going to leave it as standard with this for now. But what we need to do is, now that we've checked on this standard information, we need to go through onto these details. So we need to do a few checks first. So in doing that, we're checking the spaces because that's what we're using. And what it's telling us is that there's a few errors. So we need to look at these errors first to see what needs to be fixed, if anything, before we come back and run these calcs. So all we need to do is we just go down, and these are the different zones, as you can see over here in the project browser. We're just going to go through and see if we can find an error message. Now these are the classrooms. These are the numbers for the classrooms as well as the names, and these little icons here, these are the indications of where the spaces are, that it's occupiable, and where the space is, whether it be a room space or a plenum space. It's hard to see in this small view. But as we go through, we might see some of these change. So as you go through to the next room, the next zone, sorry, there's no error messages here. Go through, and we've come across our first error. So we're going to click on this item here. It gives us a little bit of information here. Have we got this information correct? We can check on that to see if that's correct first. But let's just look and see what the error is. And to do that, all we need to do is click on this show related warnings. So we click on this button, and we get this warning message pop up, which is telling us that the room bounding for the space, so the space that we've got created in there is not set up correctly. It's advising us to amend that first before we continue on. So that's one room. Obviously, there's quite a possibility there's more rooms, since we've got all of these zone types. But we're just going to leave that as this for now. Now, if you're wanting to know a quick look at, well, okay, that's classroom. And the number is 2000. Where is that? Or how can I see where that room is? Well, at a quick glance, you can just quickly click on this button here to highlight. And if you look in this 3D model now, you can see that it's highlighted this area here in red, whereas the rest of the spaces is green. And if we want to look at it in a clearer picture again, we can actually switch off the other temporary hide the other areas by clicking on this button beneath it to isolate it. And then that way we've got a much clearer picture of where that is. We've got full use of the 3D options to pivot round and look and see where this is. So obviously the room number tells us that it was the second floor. No, ground floor. Anyway, you get the picture that we can see. So what it's advising basically is to go back, fix this area up, and then continue on. Now, what we're going to do is, if you were to stop here and go back and fix this up, click on Save Settings, because you might have amended something, whether it be here in this general details, or even here when you fixed up a previous room elsewhere. Click Save Settings, and then when you come back to this, then at least you're not having to redo all of those areas again. So once you've got this these items here, we can start to calculate and then move on to the next step to see what happens next. So to do that, all we need to do is just click on the Calculate button, and that's when we're ready to run the report. The loads report displays, and it will end up, we can also find it in the project browser. We'll look for that in a minute. So let's click on Calculate. So it'll take a minute or two. As you can see down here, it's going through, looking at preparing all the data for all of these zones, going through the different months of the year, calculating based on its location and the time of the year, etc. So as you can see here, we've now got the start of these reports. And if we go down and look in the project browser, under schedules here, there's now a box here. We just expand that out, and you can see that we're in this loads report number 1 here. This is where this will be kept once we've done this report. So as you can see, we can start off seeing the project summary, building summary, and then we go through to start looking at the zone summary before we start breaking down into the different actual zones themselves, and it gives us all of this information that it's calculated based on this base. Now don't forget, this is before we've put any of the equipment in, so this is a baseline for seeing what the building is asking for based on the parameters that we've set on the building type, the rooms that we've got, where its location is, etc.